Hi, this is Roman, and today we'll be going over Unit 7 on circles, Day 17, Part 2 a whole, Part 1, how can we use a sector to draw conclusions about an entire circle. So in this lesson, I'm going to slide 11, and there's a great exploration activity here where we're asked if we have enough information. So the question is, the central angle of the shaded sector measures 45 degrees and the sector's area is 32 pi inches squared. And Kieran is saying we could find the area of the whole circle, the arc length of the sector, and the circumference of the circle with this information. And Priya says, but how? We don't know the circle's radius. So what I would do with this activity, because I think it's an amazing activity, is make it a formative assessment. And of course, a formative assessment is different than a summative assessment. We're just looking to capture where students are and give them some type of feedback to meet our objectives of the lesson. Actionable feedback that they could use based on their solution. So what I would do is give students a set amount of time. In this question, we have students finding the area of the whole circle, the arc length of the sector, and the circumference. So maybe a 4 to 5 minute window would make sense, if not more, to have students investigate this question. And what I would do after that time period is give students a model exemplar of the solution to reflect upon. So after giving them that individual time to individually work through this problem, what I would ask them to do is look at a model solution, right? And here I have a sample that I'll be sharing of a model exemplar. So I would give students this after that 5-minute window. And here I have the step-by-step solution of finding the radius as our first step, then finding the area of the whole circle, finding the circumference of the whole circle, and then finding the arc length related to that sector there. So as students have this solution, what I would ask for them to do is grade themselves based on a rubric. So here I have a sample rubric. This rubric is taken from Marzano, and it's really has a focus on the formative assessment rather than the summative. So to measure student learning mid-lesson, and really has that emphasis that this is not the end-all be-all, and it's completely okay for students not to get the perfect score 10 minutes into a lesson seeing a topic for the first time. So just to go over the rubric, a sample 4 would be, while engaged in grade appropriate tasks, the student demonstrates an understanding of the score, same as the 3.0 elements, and including independently and consistently demonstrating the extension of their knowledge, and they can create analogies and or find connections integrating the areas of study. So they're going above and beyond. So that would be more complex content. If students get a 3, they're on target of the learning objective. They're able to independently meet the core standards, understand and use the concepts independently, and understand not just the what, but can correctly explain and or demonstrate the how and the why. So there is a big emphasis with respect to this rubric on being able to do the question independently versus having help and still being able to do the question with the help. A 2 would be a student exhibiting no major errors or omissions regarding the simpler details and process, such as correctly identifying some concepts and or vocabulary, or some skills. They cannot make connections among ideas or demonstrate their learning without support. And then contrary to a score of 1, a student is able to demonstrate some understanding, whereas a 1 would be, with help, the student can demonstrate partial understanding of some of the 2.0 elements and some of the 3.0 elements. So a 0 is, even with help, a student cannot demonstrate understanding or skill. Now, obviously, you would most likely want to modify this rubric, but I kept it straight from Marzano for you to have the actual artifact instead of a modified artifact. So you could use this and modify it to your liking. The sharing settings are set so that anyone will be able to view. And again, if you're not familiar with Google Docs, you can just click File, Make a Copy, and that will be your copy to edit as you choose to. So as students are given this model exemplar of the solution, and you're giving them a rubric for them to grade their work off of, you would then ask them to give themselves a score between that 0 and 4. And here we have a reflection or revision part. So a student would explain why they received the grade that they are writing that they received. And then in the revision portion, they would write how they could revise their work to improve their grade, right? And I really like to think of this as revisions/additions, because possibly there might be questions where there are more than one entry points, and we could highlight that, and that way students who got the correct answer might have an addition to their knowledge and not just a revision. And every now and then we will have students who got a great answer on the question. So this is just an extension for them. What tips would they give to a classmate to get the question correct? And you could use that information to possibly have students explain their work as they're explaining their thought process in writing. So this is a sample of how students can reflect or self-reflect based on their own work, and with the use of a model exemplar. In the world we teach in today, it'll be very nice to gather this data using a gathering tool like Desmos or Nearpod, where we will get student writing as it comes in, and we could use it to facilitate the discourse and meeting the objectives that we set for our lesson. So I hope you guys found this useful.